Hey guys, how's it going? Andrew Chen here. I'm really pumped to bring you guys new content and a new project because officially we're done with the neural machine translator project and I'm heading on to a new one. So I do have a few options in mind for the next project, and I've been thinking about speech to text, building a text to speech system, and it kind of makes sense intuitionally because I just built something that is a sequence model, so why not build something that is relating to a sequence model again? Because that only increases my experience, and yeah, it's just really easy to follow up with what I just did. Or I can go try out the GANs, which I'm really excited about because I've never dealt with GANs before. But I think the latter is what I'm really excited about because we're about to generate those anime faces of GANs. So I'll see you on the actually I'll see you in a second. So I'm not sure, but maybe I found this GitHub repository and it contains a lot of good information on GANs. So as we can see here, there are applications using GANs, and there are also um, some of the landmark papers, which are the fundamental papers that maybe we should all read before getting onto this. So I think it is better for me to actually read a paper first and then go implement a project. So that is what I'm gonna do. So yeah, so in this episode I'll just be reading papers and then telling you guys what I've learned from each paper and how, at least right now, how I read my papers. So yeah, you know, I've actually only read like four papers in my life. I remember it was the original new I read the ones that was neurostyle transfer, and then I read the neurostyle transfer, but the newer one, the 2017 one, the Johnson method, which made the forward feed loop a lot faster. I read the convolutional neural network, which is one of the original papers by Yale and Kuhn, I believe. And of course, I read. Mm, I think I read a paper on mask RNN, I believe. Yeah. Anyways, we're doing general adversarial networks now, so it'll be really exciting. I think the way I'm going to do it is that meanwhile I'm reading it, I'll be taking some notes on my whiteboard. I think that sounds. So with that little part of I don't know if you guys can see this, but let me zoom this in. So with that little part of paragraph right there, this is what I'm getting, the intuition I'm getting with the generative adversarial networks. So it seems like that we have this input X. Um, it can be noised and then fed into the generator G. The generator G is going to make a prediction, and then it seems like it appears to be that the generator output is going to be fed into the discriminator, and discriminator is going to determine whether or not it is from the original data here or the generated here. So I'm guessing that sometimes that we might not generate, we might just feed this directly through here. But sometimes we might feed it here first, and then we go to the discriminator. So I guess both of them can get better. So by I don't really know. I don't really know. I can't really think through the mathematics that these have to go through to make them better and better. One is going to be better at generating, and one is being getting better at discriminating. But it seems like there's a lot of loopholes just at first. For example, like what if the G kind of overfits and only generates outputs that us humans might not think it is a real good example, but it is getting better at tricking the discriminator D here. So that is my worries about this GAN, but I'm sure that the authors found some way to get around that. So we will see though. I only read about 1/8 of the paper, so still have a long way to go. So I think from reading this, like I don't know exactly what is optimizing me. I don't know, is it like trying to completely optimize D in feeding in one example, or is it saying that's like I still don't know what its steps mean. Like is that one epoch? Is that what it means? So it's a lot of questions so far. Okay, so this little graph thing right here kind of helped me understand what is going on a lot. Um, so this thing right here, we see that the black dotted line is always constant, and that is our original input right here. And so these green lines are the PGs or these outputs. Um, we input the original input into this generator G, and it's going to spit out an output. And this original output line might look pretty bad, so like the green line. And then the detector is probably not optimized either, even though it's a little bit better than the generator. It's not going to be good either. So it's going to be looking like that. And then at first the discriminator is probably going to discriminate the PGs really easily. And it is saying here, this really makes sense to me right here, this part. Um, Now, first of all, the discriminator D is going to be trained, with gradient descent, whatever, backprop into, that smoother curve. And then here's the cool thing, after an update to G, gradients of D has guided G. So there's this part between discriminator D and generator G playing too. So I thought that it was only going one way. So I thought that was only generator G is feeding into discriminator D, but I didn't know exactly how generator G updated. Right? Like I didn't know exactly how generator G updated. I knew that the discriminator D updated. I can just tell because we're feeding in the generator input and telling it if it's not, if whether it's generator or not. And then we're going to update the discriminator according to the probability of predicted whatsoever, right? Whatsoever. I don't think I did the best job explaining, but then the generator itself is actually going to update when the discriminator is maybe is going to update a lot when the discriminator said that I figured out that you're the generator one, and how much it updates depends on um, the gradient of D. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Um, and it also makes sense when the generator is outputting exactly like the original data. And then of course the discriminators cannot differentiate and therefore growth stops. Yeah. So dx equals to 1.5 because it's either predicting it cannot differentiate between the two distributions. So the probability of x coming from the original data is 50%, and the probability of the input, actually I shouldn't say x, the input fed into D, which can either be generated input or the original input, is always 50% because it's only going to pick one, and the chance of picking each one is 50% because they can't discriminate between them. Alright, that makes a lot of sense. That was a really good part. So when reading the paper, this is the first time I actually read something like this. This is absolutely beautiful. I really want every single machine learning paper to have a pseudocode like this. It's actually perfect that they actually don't give you the exact Python code, and they give you the pseudocode instead because it's just a lot cleaner. And like real machine learning engineers, I bet that they can probably um like look at the pseudocode and then translate it into real code in a second. Yeah. So train this with a mini batch, stochastic. So training it one at a time. Okay. Okay, so I'm not really exactly sure about this hyperparameter. I really gotta think through this. So I want to summarize this part of the thing. So I think I just figured out the way I would personally tackle it is whenever I see logs, which happen a lot in machine learning, I kind of actually break down what is this saying um in real life. So um so to refresh, D is our discriminator and X is our real input, while Z is our noised input, and G of Z is definitely our generated input. So then if we have that context, D of X is really saying, D of X again is to predict the chance of X coming from the original data. So since this input right here, X sub I, is indeed from the generated data, I mean, sorry to confuse you. This X right here is labeled as the real data, and then we put it in. And if it is, and if the discriminator predicts the chance of it being like 100% that it is from the original data, then this is going to output to be 1. This d of x right here is going to output to be 1. And then log of 1 is 0. And that is basically saying that, you know, if we put in the real data, and if we put in a real example and our detector says that it is 100% a real example, then we don't need to update anything. But if it's like, if we put in a real data and we predict to be only having, you know, 75% confidence that it is from the original data set, then maybe we need to do some update here, because then log of 0.75 evaluates to, you know, a little, some number there. So I find that contextualizing these mathematical equations, especially the ones with logs, because like if I like personally, if I don't think through the logs, I just can't think it through. Like 1 seems really big versus 0.01, but log of 1 is 0 versus log of 0.01 is like -2. So those two are two big differences. And then here, again, let's contextualize this and use symbols, and at least that's how I think I'm doing it. And so we put it in the G of Z right here is the generated output, and when we feed it to the discriminator. So if the discriminator outputs, if the discriminator says that, okay, this this input right here, which is generated, is 100%, is 100% from the real data set. I mean, let's say 99%, 99% from the real data set. Then we're gonna get, you know, 0.99, and then 1 minus 0.99 is 0.01, and then if we take the log of that, that is going to be -2. So that is going to be some numbers right there. Versus if we say that when the discriminator reads a generated input, it says that there's a 0% that it came from a it is 0% that it is a real input. Then 1 minus 0 is 1, and log of 1 is 0. And when it's 0, we're basically saying that we don't want to update anything. So yeah. Then what did confuse me is here. Basically we're trying to update the generator, the same part as this thing right here. And this confuses me because this right here is saying that we're going to update the generator by this right here. And this again let me step through this again. Yeah, like, do you see what I'm doing? I'm like trying to contextualize it every time, and um, trying to really understand what these mathematical symbols mean. I think that is a really good way of reading papers. Comment below if you think it is probably not the best way, and I should do something else, please. Really just trying to learn out here, but let me contextualize this again. So this is the, if this is high, if this is really high, then this thing, whole thing will be really big. And when this is high, that is saying that, when this is high, that is saying that the input, hold up. I think I just understood something. So when d of g of z is high, that means the generator did a really good job at tricking the discriminator. And so if that is like, what? I don't think that makes sense. D of G of Z is saying that how good the generator tricked the detector, because if it is 1, if it's 100%, it is saying that the detector thinks that the generated input is 100% from the real data set. And in that case, we're going to do 1 minus, let's say, 0.99, right? Let's say we have 99% confidence. Then it's going to be 0.01, which means we are indeed actually modifying the generator. But isn't it that when the generator is performing really good, we don't want to make changes for it? So this is confusing me a little bit. There's no way I mean, there is some chance that they wrote the paper wrong, but the chances of that is definitely lower than 0.01%. So yeah, that's a little bit weird, but I'm sure, like, I do know, yeah. Here's here's what the process I took today. This is gonna be exciting to document about, because maybe really soon I'll be reading papers in a whole different way and actually doing the math, meanwhile I'm reading the papers, something like that. But here's at the moment how I am personally reading my papers. So first of all, I always read the introductions. I look at the authors, so if I see like the familiar names, I'm like, haha, it's him, it's gotta be good. Or it's her, it's gotta be awesome, something like that. Or never seen this name before, and it seems like a college student, so yeah. But then I come down to here, and these newly defined symbols that are not generic. So for example, X is pretty generic, represents data a lot. Now if it's P of G, I definitely try to ingrain what it means in this context. So in this paper, it means generator's distribution. So it's basically saying that what the generator output is. I'll definitely ingrain that in my memory, because as we can see, it pops up. Yeah, it pops up a lot. It pops up 47 times. So that is a lot. And if you don't know what it means, you're gonna lose out very soon. After learning the symbols, what they mean, I can continue to read on to the paper, and I kind of actually like to read these figures and actually examine what they mean. And the second time I come across these variables, I actually try to remember what they mean, and if they do have an input or something like that, I actually um, try to come up with the English meaning of that mathematical expression. So for example, right here, when we look at log of d of x and of d of x, I'm going to remember that d of x represents the probability of the input being the real input, and then I'm going to not say log of that, but I'm going to say log of that. If log of that is If log of something big, if it's log of 1, it's going to be 0. If it's log of 0, it's going to be, actually if it's log of 0.0001, it's going to be super big. And therefore, I kind of convey that to the English meaning instead of just saying log of something. Yeah, that's all I got. Just reading a paper today. Tomorrow I'll probably start implementing this. I doubt that I have the skills to implement this from scratch right now, so I might read a few tutorial or so. But yeah, that's it for this episode. I'm a little bit tired, to be honest. Came home kind of motivated and just, yeah. Alright, see you guys later.